Welcome back to another episode of the Earnings All Stars. And this week, the busiest week in the S&P 500 for earnings, and we're getting a lot of the Magnificent Seven, a bunch of other important big caps among every type of industry. So it's always very difficult to pull out just a couple names to look at this week. I'm ignoring the Magnificent Seven because I already covered them in a prior video. Go check out that one. And I did a deep dive into all of them, basically. So go check out that video. But today, I wanted to talk about housing. We're going to get a bunch of home builders reporting this week. Now, we've already had a couple that reported on the fiscal year, but that was a couple weeks ago. And a lot has changed since then in housing, or at least we think it has. And so with the mortgage rates at 8%, what are the home builders seeing? Is it dead at the sales centers? Is everyone waiting until the spring? What do they see happening in 2024? How many people are taking the rate buy downs, if any, or are all of them? These are all questions that are going to be out there. And this is the first quarter I can remember in maybe probably a year since the rates first spiked up to 7%, that we've all been very interested in the home builders again, and the stocks have been relatively weak. So let's take a look at 5 home builders reporting this week. You're going to want to put these on your calendar. They're all different sizes. You probably won't want to tune into all of them, although I may do so to listen to those conference calls. But even just one or two should give us some kind of clarity as to what's going on out there. So let's dive in. Okay, the first company that is reporting off the first out the gate is Pulte Group, ticker PHM. It's the largest publicly traded home builder. So this is a good proxy for what's going to be going on out there across the nation. They're in 29 different states. And so, they're going to give us some clues on where everything stands. And a lot of times, housing market is local. So what's going on in the West might not be going on in the East, Midwest, Southeast, you name it. They're all going to have their own particulars going on. But again, Pulte is going to be able to give us the data from 29 different states. And so this is going to be very helpful. You can see on their earnings chart here, just 2 misses. We had the one back here in 2022. Not surprising, just a year ago. This was when the rates spiked to 7. So it was getting a little dicey there for the analysts to try to figure out what was going to happen with earnings. And so they, have had to do some huge adjustments. But we've had 3 big beats in a row here. Shares are down off of those highs. That would be kind of normal given the huge run up we've had and that we're in the quiet period for housing. So after the spring and summer sales season, fall and winter is slow. Stock usually pulls back during that time period, even without the rates spiking. And then it will start to do something else depending on the hope for the spring season. Now, that could mean a negative hope, might not mean a positive one. Last year, it meant a positive one, and you can see the stock really took off about a year ago. But the last 3 months, down 9.4% for Pulte. So just about at correction territory, and we'll see what happens. The next one I wanted to cover is MI Homes, ticker MHO. Some of these you might not have heard of the company name before, but you would know some of their different brands, for instance, that they market under. But look at this chart. It's very similar to Pulte. It too only has the 2 misses, but its last miss was here in 2021, and this was a downward miss, a little bit bigger than what we just saw from Pulte a year ago, of about 8%. But they have an excellent track record here, and they too have been putting some big beats in because the analysts had just been getting it wrong. Even as rates have been rising again, the home buyers have still been kind of out there in the game, and the margins have been holding up for all of these home builders as well. They haven't had to do as much price cuts. And while they're doing incentives to get some buyers in, it's not as big as everybody thought. So MI Homes down 15.8%. in the last 3 months. So this is a bit bigger decline. We're heading maybe towards a bearish type market in MI homes, but we'll see. That could all change on this report. Then our third company is going to be m.d.c Holdings. Again, one you might not know by name, but you're going to know some of their brands. And m.d.c is known for paying a dividend. It pays the highest dividend in the industry. It's now yielding 5.5% because you can see the shares have declined off their highs as well. All of these have. People who were trading these stocks for this big rally we just had off of the last year's lows are now cashing in and thinking, that is over. We're getting out. So these shares are down 18.8%, heading close to bear territory. They don't have as good a track record of surprising. You can see the two misses there. The last miss was just earlier this year. This looks like a fairly big one. Yeah, 29% here. So just not as consistent as some of the others, and that's going to make their stock a little more volatile. But that's m.d.c, ticker m.d.c. Then we're going to switch over, to yet another one. Taylor Morrison is this ticker, TMHC. And I think you're going to see, yes, indeed, it's looking very similar to the others. But they have the good track record too. It's just those two misses in 2021. And this one looks pretty small with that little arrow, just 5.9% there. This one also small, 1.3 only for that. So great, excellent track record, including at the start of the pandemic. You can see this one here with an 11% beat just as the pandemic was starting. So you can't count them out on the miss or the beat here for Taylor Morrison. Shares are off their highs too. I'm sounding like a broken record, but everybody's cashing in on the 8% mortgage rates on the recent gains here. And again, why not? Because we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty now about if these home builders can keep these margins up, even with the rates this high. It is down 20% in the last 3 months. So that is a bear market, technically a bear market. And it's, still fairly cheap here. Actually, all of these home builders are fairly cheap, but not if the earnings don't hold. So we'll see going into this one, just like with all the rest. What are they saying? What are they seeing? Is it as negative as everybody thinks, or are we getting it wrong once again? And the final company is Tri Pointe Homes here, ticker TPH. Again, very similar. If you stack these on top of each other, you're not really going to notice much different, especially for this year. We had the big rally. Now we're having the sell-off. It's actually down about 22% in the last 3 months. And that's the biggest decline here out of all of these companies. We only have the one miss all the way back in 2019. It is a big one. It is a doozy, 100% miss back then. But we've had some huge beats. This one from 2 quarters ago, 73.8%, and then a 32%er before that. The latest beat, just 9%, but that's not too shabby either, especially given as those rates were rising. And again, there's just a lot of uncertainty here. So this is an industry we're all going to be tuning in on for this earnings season. And this is a big week for it. As you can see, we're getting 5 companies reporting, and there still are a couple more still to come, but we're going to know right off the bat this earnings season what the outlook looks like for Q4 and also into 2024. Some of these builders might start to give some 2024 outlook, although I'll be curious to see how many can even do so with these rates rising this dramatically. So a lot going on. Be sure to tune into the conference calls for all of these, as I will, or follow me on Twitter at Tracy Reineck, because I'll be live tweeting out some of these conference calls as we go along with their little tidbits about what they're seeing out there. So you don't have to listen necessarily. You can tune into my Twitter and you'll get it there. But be sure to tune in all week long and all during earnings season, because I'm coming back with even more earnings charts this week. Because again, it's the busiest week for the S&P 500, and we're getting a lot of prominent big caps. So be sure to subscribe to get all of our videos at zacks.com/YouTube. And I'll see you again with another Earnings All-Stars video.